I have my foldable cut. I've got everything glued together and I have it matched up. So the top part is the question. The second layer is going to be the final simplified version. And then the last layer is going to be the rule. What do we do? Explaining what we've done. So this foldable wraps up yesterday's investigation. And to start with, I'm going to take a look at the one where we were multiplying exponents. So remember from yesterday, when we were multiplying, the rule said if we've got the same base, we're supposed to add exponents. So 4 to the 6 times 4 to the negative 2. Well, if I'm going to add 6 plus negative 2, what is that going to add and become? That's going to become a 4. So this simplifies and becomes 4 to the 4th power. So what is the rule? The rule is to add exponents. So it becomes 4 to the 6 plus negative 2, and 6 plus negative 2 is 4. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. So in this one, notice how we're dividing. Notice how division and multiplication are opposites of each other. So in multiplication, we added exponents. Division, we're going to subtract exponents. So 9 to the 6th divided by 9 to the 4th is the same thing as 9 to the 2nd power. So for dividing, 9 to the 6th over 9 to the 4 becomes 9 to the 2nd. So what was the rule that we learned yesterday? Subtract our exponents. So 9 to the 6 minus 4 was how we got 9 to the 2nd power. Okay, so while we're on it, I'm going to go and I want to take a look at this one now. Not going in the exact order. So this one, these two are a lot alike, so we're going to subtract our exponents. So what is 6 minus negative 4? Well, 6 minus negative 4 becomes 8 to the 10th power. Whoops. 8 to the 10th power. So what was the rule? We're going to subtract our exponents. And notice how I've got a negative exponent here. Also notice how I had a negative exponent here. All of this is going to lead us to talking about negative exponents. So 8 to the 10. So subtract exponent, so it becomes 6 minus negative 4. Well, minus and negative is the same thing as saying plus positive 4, or 6 plus 4. Okay? So then, what did we learn yesterday? 7 to the 0. So 7 to the 0 is always going to have a value of 1. If you remember from yesterday, anything to the 0 power always is going to have a value of 1, no matter what it is. So anything to a power 0 is 1. Okay, so this one is a power to a power. So if you remember from yesterday, a power to a power, we had to multiply those exponents. So 4 to the 3rd to the 5th power is the same thing as 4 to the 15. So we had to multiply the exponents. Oops, having a hard time writing today. 3 times 5, not 3 times 15, So 4 to the 3 times 5. Okay, so now that we're on that, well, what about one like this? So notice how in this situation how we have parentheses, but notice inside our parentheses we have a 3 and an x. So how would that simplify and what would that become? Well, because it's a power to a power and we've got this 3x inside of that, that power has to go to the 3 and to the x. So this becomes 3 to the third, x to the third. So what is that rule? The rule is to distribute the power to everything inside the parentheses. What is 25 to the first power? Well, that's simply just saying 25. When it's to the first power, we don't usually write the power. So if the power is 1, anything to a power of 1 is itself, so you can lose the power. And so now that brings me to the negative exponent. So take a second and type 2 to the negative third into your calculator. And whenever you do that, hopefully you should have got 1 over 8. So why is 2 to the negative third the same thing as 1 over 8? Well, we're not considered to be simplified if we have a negative power. So no negative powers. So how do we get rid of it? Well, we move it to lose it. So 2 to the negative 3, notice how if I put this over 1, to get rid of that, I'm going to move the base and the power to the bottom, and it's going to become 1 over 2 to the third. And 2 to the third power is 8. So that's how we got 1 over 8. So a simple way to remember it is move it to lose it. Negative exponents, move it to lose it. Okay, hopefully this foldable is helpful. It's all of your powers put together in one. And then I've got one more thing that we're going to look at in today's lesson. It's a summary sheet of all of our powers, and then we're also going to be applying the powers. So the next thing before we get to the summary sheet that we're going to be looking at is that pre-assessment. The pre-assessment that you should have took, the very first thing you should have done in this unit. We're going to be going over it, and we're going to see how you did, why all of this simplifies to the way that it does.